Hello, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to talk about sending money to Africa. And these are some things that you should know if you're a Western person going to be married to someone from a different culture, like an immigrant from, let's say, Africa to Mexico to an Asian country to anywhere.
South Americans,
South America,
Indians.
Indians, all these cultures tend to have the same kind of thinking about helping families and sending money, especially if you have a loved one from that country who lives in the Western world.
Yeah.
So these are things that we have learned over 11 years of marriage, and some things that we've learned.
Yeah, and before we got married, we had to get this conversation.
Yes.
And we told Tiffany, see, when I get married, there are going to be times when I'm going to send money to Africa.
Yes. So that is true. These are things that you should definitely, I agree, you should discuss before you get married.
Yeah.
Because as a Western person, you want to know what you're coming into, like your relationship. You got to know that the person you're marrying that's from, let's say, Africa or wherever it may be, will most likely be sending money back home to their mom or their dad or their sister and their brothers and family members and your brother's sister, brother, whatever, all the people. So you just have to be aware of that. So then you're not caught off guard and then you're going to be like, what happened?
There was a survey that I read some time ago. It said almost, I think, 70 to 80% of marriages that end up in divorce is because of financial reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Money can take a very, very big toll on your relationship. And even when you get back to the scriptures where Jesus is teaching about, he spoke more about money than heaven and hell. Because money is part of the things that we need to breathe to live our life. So Jesus talked more about money than heaven than hell. Okay, so it's important to have this conversation with your spouse or the person you're about to get married with.
Definitely.
To know how you guys will handle finances, because you guys will be working, you'll be bringing income, and you will not only be taking care of your nuclear family, but you find
when
out.
you say nuclear family, that is like your spouse, so your wife or husband, and your kids.
Yes.
So that's what a nuclear family is.
And with the American mindset and most European mindset, that's just the family, right? They don't think about sending money to extended relatives. I know with you guys it's a little different.
Well, yeah, like in my family, for example, I've got an older brother and a younger sister, and I have some cousins and so on. But we would help I would help my siblings if they needed it.
Yeah.
Like if they were desperate, going through a hard time, or something really bad came up, like some sort of a sickness, and they didn't have specific amount of income for a certain thing, we would totally help. But usually they have careers of their own, so they're making their own money that they don't need help or support.
And they have more opportunities.
Yeah, more opportunities.
They have more opportunities here in America.
That's true.
Than I will have relatives that are back in Cameroon. There are opportunities, but not as much as here, right?
Yes.
Because here you could get $1 or $2, and the exchange rate itself will give so much strength to your dollar. So you can do a lot much there, a lot more over there.
Yes.
And so they will reach out for help, and so we had this conversation. So when we get married, I started sending money to Africa. That was not a problem for Tiffany.
Yeah.
But after some time, I understood that I'm a married man. I'm accountable also to my wife. So I started, for example, when my grandpa was alive, I said that Tiffany.
He said, Tiffany, we need to send money to my grandfather. And I said, okay. So I was the one who made the transaction. It came in my name.
Yes.
And so the money was sent to him through me.
Yes. So I made sure the money went through my wife, so they know, look, these people are working in this together. But there were also times in the relationship where we had, maybe you sent money at the beginning of the month in Africa. I told her that we're going to be sending money to Africa, but what I never told her was the frequency of how much we're going to send. Yeah. Because
he ended up sending it more often than I even knew.
Yeah. There were some times that because I had sent so much money and my wife was aware about, and there was still something that I thought was pressing, I sneaked behind her back, sent some money that she didn't know anything about. But I confessed later on.
Yeah, you confessed, but for advice for others, don't hide that from your spouse.
Yeah, but
because
also,
that's not a thing that you should be hiding. Because when you're in a marriage, you should tell your spouse everything that's going to be including them and the finances of the family.
Yeah, but I think one of the reasons why I didn't tell you every single time I sent extra money was because I was trying to protect you.
Okay.
There are things that I could understand, but with you, it just sounded insane, which I thought was actually insane. But what would I do? What would the younger me do if I if I could go back in time?
Mm-hmm.
I would say you could look for a part-time job during the weekend, maybe 4 hours. And say, hey, I'm going to do this part-time work during the weekend to take care of some of those emerging needs, and let your wife know about that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't always have to touch the family's core income that we have to survive it. Yeah, that will still be a challenge because your wife is going to be like, I wanted to spend this time with my husband, but he has to work 4 hours out of the house to solve problems out there. So it's a very sticky thing, but I hope that as you guys walk through that, God's going to give you guys wisdom.
Yes.
And then it's even tougher for couples who are both immigrants, right?
Yes.
Let's say the wife is from Nigeria, the husband's from Cameroon, and the wife has to take care of all of her family also in Nigeria.
Yes.
And the husband has to take care of all the family also in Cameroon.
Yes.
And that is like,
it's a challenge.
It's a challenge. And it's easy to find out that after many years in the West, in America, you haven't done a lot for yourself.
You haven't done a lot for yourself.
You haven't done for
and
yourself,
your
yeah.
family that you're here with.
With, yes. Or your children, you haven't even saved for retirement.
You haven't saved
saved
for your children's
for college
and
education.
Things for your family that you're living with.
Yes.
That you've created and made for yourself.
Yes, because you're trying to solve all the problems overseas in Africa.
You're trying to be God.
You're trying to be God. Don't play God. Don't play God. I played God for a long time, and one day I found out I was a human. I stopped playing God. Now, there are many reasons why you want to send money to Africa, but sometimes some of the reasons are stupid or ridiculous. They're going to call your phone at 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, you remember the great uncle? He just died. Oh, we need to bury that great uncle. And I'm like, so what? Am I Jesus? Do I raise the dead? If he's dead, bury him. Like, if you don't send money for a funeral in Africa, I promise you they will still bury those people. Because we don't need money you don't need to take your money and send for them to feed the village drunk. Yeah, because like funerals sometimes back home is like a very big party. People drink, the party, they sew uniforms, and all those expenses are coming from you overseas. You're financing the funeral to in Africa or in India or whatever country that may be. So you have to.
Well, I feel that it's good to give to the family in the times of need. Let's say if someone passes away, it's okay to give some money. But maybe you should say that the money that I want to give, but of course they can use the money any way they want when you give it to them. But a good advice would be the money that I'm giving to you, I would like you to use to help the family members who are left behind of that loved one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Not to contribute to the alcohol that's going to be serving everybody and it's going to be wasted. Not saying parties are a waste. I'm just saying.
I think funeral parties are always a stupid expense because, they rent vehicles, huge vehicles. I've seen places in Ghana where they literally have to put a billboard with the person, the deceased picture, and then they have to hire people to come cry at the funeral. They have to give drinks, and there are other cultures in Nigeria where they literally have to build a house for the deceased. So the family is not embarrassed because they came to the funeral and the guy who died didn't have a house. So they put that guy in the mortuary for months, and then you're paying bill for the mortuary, and you have to build a house for a deceased, and the living don't have anything to go to school. That doesn't even make sense, right? There are many reasons why you would waste your money in some of those ridiculous practices. Yeah. So one thing I learned in my journey as an immigrant is when we were growing back in Africa, our parents, they did everything for us. Like for my case, my mom was a widow, so she did businesses, she hustled to make sure I have two children. Serious hardworking woman.
Hardworking.
Yeah, and during those phases, she had 8 of us. During those phases, she didn't care if she had any retirement or had anything. It was all about the success of her children. Mm-hmm. And it's a godly and a great thing to do to make sure that when you become an adult, you become responsible, you're financially stable, to take care of your mom.
Yes.
I mean, if you read scripture, There was a time when even Jesus was dying. That was one of the last requests he made. He told Peter, one of the disciples, to take care of his mother. And scripture says that the mother went and lived with Peter after that and after he had died. Yeah, we Africans, we love our moms. We can forget our father, but don't mess with our mom. Yeah, so we did that quite a lot. And it's important, again, to communicate with your wife.
Yes.
So they know.
Yes.
The next trap is you trying to solve all the problems back in Africa, and you don't care about your nuclear family. You don't care about your own children. You've not saved for your own retirement. You've not saved for their school, their education, their college tuition. You haven't done any of those things, but you're trying to get a good name back home, a cheap name. And the people in Africa, it's not that they just ask money, but sometimes those of us in the West give the wrong impression. We do this Facebook pictures, we show, oh, I just bought this new car. We just show off, even though we are broke most of the time. We struggle, we show off. So we've given them the wrong expectations that, hey, we can solve all the problem. We are Jesus, we are Messiah. Guess what? They're going to reach out to ask for help. And, well, like I said, you could do something for one family member today. The next day, another family member is calling. Every single one is calling. And so it becomes tough and tough. But during our marriage, we did quite a few good things to make sure that, like this month, the last 2 months, we haven't sent any money to Africa. So this is something we could advise you to do. As soon as you come to America, when you get to Europe, you must plan your life. You must plan your life. And one of the best things we did, I told my wife, I started doing this even before my wife came on board, before we even got married, was if you have a means to get them to come overseas, which is very easy. I will talk about this in another video, how you could get your family, all of them here. It's really, really easy. There are many, many methods, right? Try to work on them getting their own visas and coming to America and come hustle for themselves.
Yeah.
Because they will come here and fend for themselves. Sometimes it's not only you who has to bring them. Some of them will bring some projects to you that, hey, you know what, I want to visit America. I've got this strategy to get there and work for this number of years and go back to my country or whatever, or immigrate. Yeah, you can sponsor it. If you don't have the ideas, you have the finances, you should sponsor it. And
yeah. So, but yeah, you should set your priorities of where you're sending money and who you're sending money to. You need to find what's the most important to you.
Yeah.
So obviously, like he just said, that your nuclear family, your wife and your kids should come first because they're the ones that you're building your life with and your future with. So if you're not taking care of your family back where you're living, then how are you going to look for a bright future if you're sending all your money to Africa, to people, or India, or wherever you are sending your money? And there maybe, because to be honest, sometimes some of the people you send money to aren't using the money in the right way.
Oh, a lot of the times, not sometimes.
So, like, for example, I know some people who send money back and they're building homes in Africa or building homes in another country, and the house is just sitting there collecting dust, or they buy the land and there's not being used. And let's say you live here in America or the Western world and your house is not good.
An apartment.
You're living in an apartment or living in a place that
then you're building a mansion in Africa.
Yeah, you're building a house in Africa or a mansion somewhere, and all your money is going to some place that's just infested with dirt and cobwebs, not being used, or it's just sitting there and it's not bringing value to you.
Yeah.
But you're living in a place that is not well, it's not taken care of, or it just needs work. And where's your priorities there? Because your family here needs to live in a suitable, nice place. Instead, you're spending your money in other places.
There's also another thing I would say is if you're in America, listen to me attentively. You're an immigrant, you should make sure you come to America. I mean, if you're already in America, make sure you truly come to America. Because a lot of us are here in the United States and we waste half of our lives trying to impress the people we left in Africa. We want to impress the neighborhood witch who told you you're not going to be anything, so you're posting as much pictures on Facebook, you're buying things you can afford to impress people that are not even 6,000 miles close to you. And so you're building house back in India, Africa, Mexico, which is not wrong, but here you were renting and paying rent, and maybe you even took a loan here to build a house and accrue interest on it. I'm not saying don't invest in Africa. We ourselves, we've invested in Africa.
So we have purchased land in Africa to eventually build a house on.
Yes.
And we're working on the finances to put into building that house.
Our house, yes.
Because we would like to have a place to live of our own back in Africa.
Yeah.
So then when we go to visit, we have somewhere that we can spend time with our family there.
Yeah, it would be an abomination to live in America. We had access to all the money, we worked, and we had access to the dollar. Then when we go back to Africa, then we go rent in one of your classmates' house. That's an abomination. But again, that's why you have to plan your life.
Mm-hmm.
Pay for where you live first in America, because it's where you're making the money.
Yeah.
Then build another one in Africa.
Mm-hmm. So
Actually,
you can
it was
enjoy
Tiffany.
retirement
Yes.
or enjoy vacations somewhere, because this is where you're living now. This is where you're raising your family. This is where you're making money, your income. You need to live a life that you feel comfortable and nice where you're living now. Who wants to be uncomfortable while they're making money when,
and a space for your children. Your children should have the best life.
And your children should have good
they should
memories.
have their best life now, good memories.
Good memories of where they grew up, where they live, where they're living.
Yeah, like Tiffany said, you take millions and dump in Africa. That's not a bad thing. But if you're going to be in America for another 30 years and then you build a house, that brings you in only about $200 a month, when you could have invested that money on the stock market here for a 7% interest, 7% growth annually, right? You would have been more money investing that money here. And then when you make all that much money, go in Africa and build something big. We're on the same path. We look at we're working and then saving our money here and trying to pay off our house in America. Which we did. We paid off the house, And then see if there was a land in Africa. We had a very good family member down there who reached out to us and said, there was this land. Guess who paid for the land?
Yeah, I paid for it.
Yes, my wife was like, hey, this is money. It's a good land. It's a good opportunity. We took that land and we're going to build there. We plan on retiring in Africa. We'll spend maybe 6 months there annually and then some 4 months in the US. We'll be all over the place.
Yeah, come back.
Yes, but now that we are here in our prime, we have the right also to have a good place of our own, have less stress. Yeah. So yes, we have to send money to help. See, a lot of us who came to the United States, some of us, when they came, maybe their parents had to borrow money. Maybe they had to sell lands to get them here. And when you come here, you have to help out. But also, as you live here longer, you have to be able to draw some boundaries and say, I cannot be the Messiah. I cannot save everybody. Even Jesus had to run away after some time. Now, I'm not using the word run away like run away, but he left.
Yeah.
He's like, you guys, I'm going to make you guys fishers of men. You can't carry everything over your head. It's going to crush you. And for some of you who have been playing God, trying to solve every problem back home, after 10 years,
it's going to wear you down.
It's going to wear you down. But the question I'm going to ask is, what can you clearly look that you've done back home? Can they be accountable for all the money? There are other people that have said money to all they've done is like spend. Some relatives, they just spend. What can you show for all the money you've been receiving from the West? What can you show for it? And so you in America, you'll get discouraged after 10 years. You'll be like, I know friends who took out their student loan and then they sent it back home to solve family problems. But this is 2023, there's still more phone calls coming about those same family problems. So anyway, in a nutshell, I wouldn't keep this video long. Plan your life well. Just do what you can do. Take care first of your nuclear family. For us, my nuclear family is me, my wife, my children, including my
mother-in-law.
Your mother-in-law, yes, which is my
mother.
My
mother-in-law,
yes,
your mom.
My mom, yes.
Since she's a widow and the father died when Stans was young.
Really young, and she sacrificed everything.
Yes, so she's part of the nuclear family.
The rest, that are not in the nuclear, God will take care of you. Welcome second. That's right. Yes. Welcome second. Yes. Anyway, we'll keep this short. We'll come back next time. Let me know your own experience in the West about sending money back to Africa.
Please let us know your experiences with this topic.
Yes.
We would love to hear how you handle it.
Yes.
And maybe you can give some tips and ideas for how you've come through it also.
Yes. What are some of the things you regret doing that you can now teach a younger you not to do.
Yes.
Hey, talk to you later. Tiffany will probably come up sometime this month with some cooking.
Yes.
But we just want to make this a family-friendly channel where we talk about finances, we talk about food, we talk about friends, things that build a family.
Yes. Thank you so much, and we look forward to talking to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Love you guys.
Love
Bye.
you.